Wow. And would you look at that? We are live. Hey,
We have
guys.
made it.
We've made it. Last week was an anomaly, and here we are with the 0 viewers for you. Doesn't matter because this is just the start. This is just the beginning of something beautiful. So, welcome to the Toffee Blues Late Night Live with me, Forrest, and Quinn. Bizinezanezana.
You
Um,
nailed it.
I did. I actually didn't say it quite right. There's a couple more Z's in there. But either way, this is a relaunch of the USA Toffee Blues show that Jerry used to host. Unfortunately, Jerry's a really busy guy, so he had to step away from his hosting duties. But I'm sure in the future we'll have him on as a guest. I know he was a popular guy and really had this thing up and running and really was committed to it. And so if you're not on with us live right now, on YouTube, then it will be onto the podcast tomorrow on Apple Music, Spotify, any podcasting platform you could think or dream of, even that really niche one that you hide, you have in your privates folder. That's on you. I don't ask any questions, but that's okay. So to really kick us off tonight, I thought we would do some introductions, tell y'all who we are, our background with Everton, our qualifications for being Evertonians. And then I thought we'd have a little fun because eventually some British people are going to see the show is to let you know one thing we really like about the UK because we both have been extensively multiple times. So the one thing that we don't really like, and it's going to be non-football related. So I'm actually going to let Quinn kick this off because I've already been talking too long. So Quinn,
Man, let me
what's
kick this
yours?
off with
Yeah,
who
kick it,
I
kick it.
am and how I fell in love with this amazing yet awful club that has caused so much rejoicing, elation, and pain over the years. But yeah, my name's Quinn from the Detroit area in Michigan originally. Have supported Everton for, man, 15 years now, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, have been to the UK 10 times now, I believe. Hit double digits over the years. Qualifications for us. What is a qualification
I
for?
don't know. Why don't you tell me about your favorite Everton moment, matches you've been to, away
Yeah.
games, how many people you know that are top blues? Give me two
Yeah.
people that are hooligans. Name one county road cutter. You got to get in there.
Yeah,
Who
I
is
got to get in there. Man, oh man. Well, I feel like some people may know this. Some people may have no idea who I am, but yeah, have actually been able to be behind the scenes in the club, which is pretty cool. That's one of those fun things that um yeah, the club's amazing. Um have been able to photograph a match at Goodison Park and spend the week working with Tony Sampson, the head photographer for the club. My first game, that was in 2019, which we could get into that at a later moment. But yeah, first game was in 2012, 2013, that season. Was in high school and convinced my parents, like, hey, I want to go. And they're like, absolutely not. But after lots of saving money and whatnot and convincing my dad, we went. We lost 2-0, 2-0 at so it was at Manchester United at Old Trafford.
uh,
And fell in love with the misery watching us lose my first match away. And then the next year went back over, got to see my first home game. I feel like I'm pretty spoiled. It was the spring of 2014 and we played Arsenal. It's
oh
that
yeah,
beautiful 3-0 win
oh yeah.
with Naismith and Lukaku and then Arteta's own goal.
It
But
was Morales' goal. What are you talking about?
yeah, sure, you're right, you're right. But whatever the team sheet said or the score sheet says at the end of the game. But gosh, I mean, I feel like I was so spoiled that was my first game at Goodison Park. I mean, sitting in the Gladys Street and just like, oh yeah, this is the drug in my veins. But yeah, just loved it. So
Yeah, cool.
I've been
So
back in
now,
it.
so yeah, so tell us one thing you like about the UK and one thing you don't like about the UK, so we can really get the pot stirred. Let's get to St. Bubbling. Come on.
Yeah, what I like about the UK. This is probably no surprise. Public transportation is amazing. I love, which people in the UK might say otherwise, but comparatively to where I live in the United States, public transportation is non-existent or it's just absolutely horrible. So love the trains and light rails and bus system. It's just efficient comparatively.
They call it a light rail there? No way.
I don't know if they call it a light rail in the UK. I feel like they do in Manchester, the light rail. Someone can
I'll
correct me if not, but
take your word for it.
maybe it's not. Now you've got me second guessing. One thing I don't like, it's not bad, but I don't like the lack of coffee culture. I'll be that basic white American girl. I love coffee culture. I love tea. I love some good black tea. Some English breakfast tea. Yeah, with milk and sugar. Yeah, all day. But
It's not
I
black tea.
do what is it?
Never mind.
What is it for us? Green tea? Red
No,
tea?
it's milky, creamy tea.
Well, yeah, but the tea bag is full of black tea.
All right.
Anyway, love tea, but yeah, I wish there was a little more coffee culture. Love a good cup of coffee. What about you, Forrest? Hit us.
So, my name is Forrest. I've been an Evertonian for just as long as Quinn, since I would say about 2009, so 15 years now. And it really started with that FA Cup semifinal against Manchester United, where we won on penalties. Just kind of fell in love with the club that day. It helped that Tim Howard was the goalkeeper. It helped that I believe Donovan had played there earlier that season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know he had 2 stints. I can't quite remember when they were, but it just kind of became a love affair that's really been making my hair fall out ever since. It really is a special, special club. I have been over, I think, 10 times, 11 times. I kind of lost track because I just keep going. And my a good mutual friend of ours, Danny, continues to tell me that I spend far too much time in the city of Liverpool when I go over. So, I don't branch out. I'll go to like York and Cheshire and up to Scotland and into Wales, but I'm not going into Europe. And he's always like, you need to go to Europe. But I can't help but feel the magnetism of the city of Liverpool and Scousers in general, and of course, Everton. My first match was supposed to be Chelsea at home in 2012, 2013. Moyes last season, we lost 2-1. I ended up getting food poisoning the night before. And I probably should have known better, because the chippy that I went to with the people I was staying with, the guy sneezed into his hands and just kept cooking. He just kept going. And I was like, oh, man, yeah, this is British culture right here. Like, let me get into this. And then, of course, I get food poisoning. So, so my first match ended up being Newcastle away, 2-1 win. Baines 45-yard free kick was my first Everton goal live. Like that was something else. Yeah. I gotta tell you, that was my most vivid memory from that moment was just this old fella in front of me, just turning around and grabbing me and screaming at me, and I'm just this American kid, and we're up, Newcastle away. You're up in the gods. And I'm in the back of the back. I'm up against the wall of the gods, so I'm as far back as you can get. And he's just grabbing me. I'm just like, it's just joy. It's just the overwhelming joy of celebrating a goal with other Evertonians. And then as far as my favorite and least favorite things about the UK, so my favorite thing about the UK is the people, and really narrowing it down, Scousers in general. It's why I continue to spend so much time in the city of Liverpool, because I just feel at home there. It is a wonderful, wonderful city. Scousers are wonderful, wonderful people. So open, so understanding of the hardships of life, and not letting that bring them down to a base level. Obviously, there's people out there who misrepresent that, but Liverpool and Scousers in general are my absolute favorite thing about the UK. Plus the steak and kidney pie. I got one of those for dinner tonight. I actually spent way too much money on it. It's like $19. Imports, right? And then my least favorite thing about the UK, and you can get on me about this, I don't care. It is impossible to find a place to get something healthy to eat. And
amen.
It's really hard. Like I the last time I went over, end of last season, I stayed in a hostel off County Road, and my mate Danny's fiance put me onto a place, and I wish I could remember the name of it now because I want to shout it out because the people there were lovely. But it was down County Road a bit, past the Oak. And it was great, nice, healthy bowls, the exact kind of thing. Because I was going to the gym every day before, when I got up, and then whatever, and then went and had a bunch of protein there, and that was my routine. And I go and walk around Goodison and go into the city, do whatever, because I'm a weirdo and stay in Liverpool. But yeah, you guys, man, it's either a chippy, it's a Chinese, it's a fast food chain, it's a Nando's, which is like super unhealthy, and then it's this taco burrito place I used to go. I can't remember the name of that either, but I would go there. It was in Liverpool City Center. So that's us, Forrest and Quinn. Just to kind of give you a rundown of what this show is going to be. Obviously, it's just once a week. We don't really want it to run too long because it's going to turn into a podcast. So we're looking to keep things at about an hour. That really gives us a lot of time to talk about things. We want to have a Q&A at the end of every episode so that y'all can participate and we can answer questions, about us, about Everton, just whatever's on your mind in general. We both play the sport. We both feel we're pretty knowledgeable about Everton and football in general, or soccer in general. I know it's an American show, but so feel free to ask us things that you might think are technical, or maybe something that somebody who's a specialist in an area might want to know or might know. I can't say that we're always as invested in terms of reading every article and being on top of every bit of news, because we both live our own lives. We both work jobs that require a lot of us. So we will answer everything to the best we can, and we'll come into every show prepared to answer questions as well as we can. And don't expect like crazy tactical analysis unless the game is like the day before, right? Because a lot of times we're talking about a game 3 days after it's happened. Everybody's already said their say about it, and all we're going to be doing is saying the same things that everybody else has said. So to get into what our actual show is going to be today, we're going to talk a bit about those three. What happened last week? There was what? Three what? What was it, Quinn? Three what? Three.
Oh, 3 points. 3 times 3 points.
Three wins at Goodison. Let's go.
We love that. It's been a minute since we could say that.
It's been more than a minute. It's been like
that's true.
Weeks. What are you talking about? A minute?
Months.
These American euphemisms over here.
Yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to get used to those.
Right. So we're gonna start off with Everton 2, Notts Forest, and it is Notts Forest. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It is Notts Forest 0. Two clubs, both entrenched in financial issues. Us because we've been owned by the world's worst accountant, and them because they just wanted to spend all the money they've ever had and try to stay in the Premier League and build 2 squads over 2 seasons. I don't know. Notts wanted to do their own thing, but at the end of the day, this is what really kick-started the week for Everton after that 6-0 loss at Chelsea. It's tough to really look back and have a lot more to say about it that hasn't already been said. But for me, a lot of the emotions that came from that win was a lot of relief. It was like, okay, now this needs to be the upturn in our form, right?
Totally. I mean, I think, yeah, like you said, so much has been. I mean, that feels like, I know it was just over a week ago, but it feels like weeks ago because of everything that's happened and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, relief. It just felt like relief. Those like 6-pointers when you're down there, just,
Yes.
I don't know. There's this part of me that's like, it's going to end up, we're each going to take a point, and this whole relegation battle is going to play out to the end of the season. Last day, we go to Arsenal, and it's like, man, not looking forward to that. But yeah, it just felt, it felt unbelievable to just exhale after the match.
Genuinely, yes. And again, you brought up a point that I forgot to mention. It was a relegation 6-pointer. It wasn't what it was. Excuse me. And at the end of the day, we've had too many of those games over the past 2 years for any of us as Evertonians to really feel comfort. Any sort of like, not like positivity. Like, yes, the fans come in and are ready and create a cauldron and create an atmosphere that is intimidating for opposition players. But still, as Evertonians, and I know we lived through this on the internet and we're chronically online as Twitter users, as Evertonians, but that anxiety translates a lot into the stands, and to see Goodison unite and be like, no, this is our moment to carry this team a bit, like has happened at the end of the past 2 seasons with Lampard 2 years ago, with Dyche last year. The fans have really stepped up and started to carry this club and do good things. And hello, Paul, by the way, I just saw your comment. Hello, brother. Nice to see you. And glad you're here. So 2-0. It was great. Not a lot to say about the match that we need to reflect on, and we should probably just move on to this other game. Not quite as big, but it was still a good win. It was Everton 2, those red guys 0. Yeah.
Gosh, it has been.
I've been to 3 derbies. I was at Goodison for the 3-3 at Martinez's first season. I cried a little bit after Lukaku scored that 3rd goal. I really thought that it was a real overwhelming moment, because it's just like being at Goodison for a derby is so electric. And I remember being on, like, walking up, I can't remember the road up from the Oak. it's not County Road, but it's another road off the top of my head. I can't remember. But I remember walking up and just feeling that electricity in the air for a derby, and just to see and then understanding like that overwhelming sense of defeat when you don't win it. Right. I've seen us draw 3-3. I saw us lose 1-0 at Anfield when Pickford decided to throw the ball against the bar in the 96th minute. That was great. Really glad that I got to be there for that moment. And then I saw us get smacked. Well, it was 4-1 a couple seasons ago. That was awful. That was just miserable. The
I got
angriest
one of those.
Yep. Angriest I've ever seen Goodison. How many derbies have you been to derbies before?
One. I've just been to one. Yeah, one. The Marco Silva's last game in charge of the Blues. Yeah, December of 2019. Lost 5-2. And similarly, there's like this. I mean, I would have loved to go to a home game versus one at Anfield, but the hope just like disintegrated so fast. It felt like in that game, and it's like, and you stay. Well, not everyone stays, but I stay, and it's like, come on. But it's just a crushing feeling, and it's awful. I mean, hearing Anfield so loud too, it just like.
Yeah, which never happens. It's never loud there.
So no, I know. Must have been a weird day or they had the speakers going pretending to be.
They actually had some scousers in the stadium. That was the thing. So
yeah. Oh my gosh.
But enough about the doom and gloom, right? We don't want to talk about the doom and gloom of past derbies because what we're talking about 2-0. We're talking Jared Branthwaite. We're talking Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We're talking those bang bang. And somebody who described him, I think it might have been Roger, the fellow
Roger Bennett.
Roger Bennett, who described his punk rock football. I didn't like that terminology because punk rock isn't really. I love punk rock, but it's not a thing anymore. That was everything that Klopp's heavy metal football wants to be, of in your face pressing, and we just turned that around on them. And it was
it was so good to watch. It was so good to watch. It's like people are running, people are making tackles. They are like in it to the end, and it's like you see us come out and do that for the first like 10 minutes of matches, and then we just totally fall into it, and they just didn't stop. And it was like they're here for it. And it is the first time we have scored first against Liverpool where I did not feel dread. I actually was like, I think we might do this.
Yeah, genuinely.
Like, yeah.
I actually was like, oh my God, we scored way too early. Like we're about to go into halftime down 2-1. Like I had some sense of dread, and they really kicked it up after that goal. And I was really like, God, we can see before halftime here, like this is not going to be good. But we didn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Scored in the second half. Yes. So talking with a few friends after that match, it really was that penalty, not non-penalty, right? But that front foot playing, trying to create things, trying to find the space behind their back line that really seemed to kickstart not just the team, because the team was going, but that kickstarted them, and then it really got the crowd going. Is that right there? The crowd saw the intentions of this team, not to treat this as a free hit, not to treat this as, oh well, if we lose, it's not the end of the world. But like they wanted that. They wanted that. It was such a huge outpouring of emotion, and everybody said it. It was such a big night at Goodison, and one of those nights at Goodison that Goodison is needed, because it's gone after next season. It's one of those nights that Goodison deserves to have on its own. And I've listened to a few podcasts after the game. The Blue Room is one of my favorites for their instant match reactions. But there's just everything they talk about in terms of what that release felt like and how much Goodison needed that, how much the fans deserve that for the passion and the work and the effort that they put into supporting this club that just lets them down so much lets down us fans. They really pulled it off. And it was just like,
I texted a few people who I knew probably weren't watching the game here in the States, not Everton supporters, but when that final whistle blew, and I was like, please, like on NBC, I was like, please don't cut to commercial or Peacock, whatever it was on. I was like, please keep it going, like and they did. And I was like, so I texted people. I'm like, hey, you got to get on and watch this. And I got a few texts back. One specifically, this person was like, I just got chills and I don't give a rip about Everton Football Club. And it's just like you said, it's like that is a night that at Goodison that's so special. Like, it was I'm so glad. I was like, they're gonna cut it, they're gonna end it, they're gonna go back to like the studio. But I loved that they just let it go. And
I've never seen NBC do that with any other team except. I mean, I don't watch a lot of other teams' games like that, but I have never seen them just because they've done it a few times. So you remember Leicester away a couple seasons ago, where they just left it because the fans were just there for 20 minutes after just singing.
Yep.
They just let it play and let it go.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? That was the Crystal Palace game, right? The 3-2.
Yeah.
They just let it stay there. Like the scenes that we create as Evertonians are so unique, and we as
Yeah.
Evertonians, I'm not trying to big us up too much, but we are the greatest fan base that's ever existed and will ever exist. So that's just the way it is. We're Blues. We're better than you, and that's my dog behind me. But it was so special, and I'm really glad that they decided to keep it there. I'm glad that they allow the fans to let their noise be heard rather than just kind of talk. They talk over them a little bit, but they really allow the fans to express themselves. They allow that singing and those chants that we have that are really unique to us as a club. So there's one thing about football chants in the UK that I don't like, and it's that every other club wants to take them and use them. But we have a few that nobody can touch. Spirit of the Blues, who's going to repurpose that? You can't. You're going to repurpose that and look like an idiot. That's our song. You can't touch that. That's us. That's us.
Tell them for us. Tell them. Yeah.
It's us. Yes, but yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I don't know if you have anything else more to say about the derby. It was a great moment. Really special. Wish
Yeah,
I
it was
could have
awesome.
been. Yeah.
I would add, I loved the post-match interview where I don't know who was interviewing Dom and was gay with him in the frame. I don't know, but they were like, "Oh, well, the last derby like that was won, what was it? Tim Cahill and Arteta scored."
Oh yeah, 2010. Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, that's not the last win. It's Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Jared
Yeah.
Branthwaite." Just
Uh-huh.
like, I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, that is like, it wasn't even like crazy arrogant. It just was like, no, we're moving forward. This is like the last one. Like, enough of that whole, it's been 14 years. And I just
Yeah.
was like, seeing him have some confidence. It was great to watch him up front too, of just like,
Yes.
yeah,
Throwing
he,
himself around. Yeah. Being the
yes.
striker that we've known him to be for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into Dyche and Dominic Calvert-Lewin in a little bit after we talk about these matches. But it was really great to see him do that, and it was really great to hear these players take on what Dyche said about changing the story. Right, one thing
Mm-hmm.
that Dominic Calvert-Lewin said that I love, he said that we're playing at Everton is playing under pressure, but he said that pressure is a privilege. And that is
Mm-hmm.
so true. And it resonated with me so well. And it really just endeared him more to me as an Everton striker. That pressure is a privilege. Being able to play for a fan base that will support you through thick and thin is a privilege.
Yep.
And it's lovely to hear players respond to that. It's really great to hear a player like Dominic Calvert-Lewin talk about how much he wants to stay at this club.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, kind of discount Calvert-Lewin because he's had this very rough stretch. He's dealt with injuries. It's been really tough for him over the past few years. But you can tell that this guy has turned to Everton and been like, this is my forever home. A lot like Pickford has. This is my home. This is where I play my football. This is where the people that I love support me. And that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. It was just really refreshing to hear that. And it's really just another just step in the right direction that we've been taking this week.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So after that great Derby win, we had the privilege of pressure of playing Brentford at home, which is not quite as big. But what it was an opportunity for us to be safe with a few games left in the season, and we did it. Oh, we did it. I didn't actually really get to watch any of the game. I work Saturday and Sunday morning, so a lot of the times I'm watching bits and pieces of the game and then trying to rewatch it afterwards. Um, Still haven't rewatched this one, but from what I've heard, it wasn't a very enthralling affair. It seemed like it was a pretty low key performance after, and to be expected after what was a huge outpouring of energy and emotion from these players in midweek and playing 3 games in a week, and this being the last one. But what it was us getting over the line and saying we're safe. We want to be safe now and not have to worry when we play Luton next week and not have to worry when we play Sheffield United, who are already relegated. And then really for the second season in a row playing Arsenal away in the last day of the season, like
I don't know.
this is going to be miserable if they're going for the title on the last day of the season. Like I wouldn't travel for it, but regardless, 1-0. Quinn, did you get to watch the game?
I did get to watch the game. It totally had 0-0 written all over it from the start,
Yeah.
I would say. It was, yeah, one of those games where, I mean, honestly, even like some of whoever was commentating on the match was like, oh, once a goal comes, like the game will open up. And I just was like, even if a goal comes, I don't think so. Like it was one of those games where Brentford doesn't really have much to play for. I mean, yes, we had something to play for, obviously safety, but it just felt like, man, after a big week, like, yeah, I didn't think we would lose, but I didn't expect us to win either. I just felt like, man, the come down from the pressure, like, of and the elation of the previous 2 games and winning on the Wednesday night. I just was like, it's gonna be boring. Like, we're not gonna score. But yeah, it was I think for the most part that, like, one of those pretty uneventful matches, few good moments. I thought Gay's goal was great because it's one of those ones where you can just put your foot through the ball and totally. I mean, he scored twice now, which is
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
think sometimes
3
when he
times
steps
this
up and
season.
he steps up and smashes the ball, it's like, where's it going? Like,
It's right. It's like
just
he's kicking a
diving it.
field goal, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and so I was like, I just was impressed, I think, in the moment for him to be able to think well enough of where to put the ball with so many bodies in front of him and just put his foot through it. And it was
Yeah.
exciting to watch. It also was so exciting. Did you see like, he runs over and Danjuma and him just hug? Like, I mean, it just was a sweet moment of, like, watching him in some ways be more of a leader on the pitch, like, more than just by doing his job, like he's one of those guys that goes out there and most times does his job and does it really well, and he's like an impact player, but it doesn't always seem like the most vocal. But it was really cool to just see everybody excited for him, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely, and he is an Evertonian, really. I mean, he's the guy who's singing songs with the fans after the match. He's a culture guy in that dressing room.
Yep.
Obviously, he's been an important player on the pitch for us this season when he's been able to be healthy and in form, and when he's been used in the right ways at the right times as well, which is very important for a player of his age and capabilities. Um, yes, I think when you look at when you think of like who's scored these winning goals for us to keep us up over the years, you're thinking Dominic Calvert-Lewin against Palace, you're thinking Decore last year against Bournemouth. Now you're thinking Gay. These are talismanic players. These are players that are, even though they are not winning trophies with us and probably won't win. Like I hope they do. I would love to see us go on cup runs or
Yep.
whatever, win the league, like God forbid. They probably won't be able to hit that upper tier of winning a trophy and really becoming an Everton legend. But what they are is they're cult heroes. There are people who are cementing themselves in an important part of our history, a part of our history that's really been all about transition and just getting through and finding a way to make it happen, which is really, I think, something that Dyche himself has also preached throughout this season. It's just getting it done, getting the job done, and making sure that we can go home proud of ourselves, that we gave the effort we needed to be able to get the results that we needed to. And that's what's really happened this season. And when it came down to it and we had this last, the third game of 3 games in a week, all at home, 3 clean sheets, and we said, we're going to win this. There was no doubt in my mind that Dyche said to these players, we're going to win this today. You put in the effort, we're going to win this today, and it happened. And from Gay to Calvert-Lewin to Mikolenko to Branthwaite to Pickford, I mean, just about everybody in the squad really has stepped up when they've really needed to. Yes, the middle of the season was tough. Yes, injuries hurt us. Yes, we weren't really tactically getting it right, but we stuck by it. The fans stuck by it, even though there was so much frustration and so much anger that really comes along with being an Evertonian. We can be a little, we can have some short fuses sometimes. Not all of us, but it happens, because we're so we're like we go from this club challenge for Europe, this club expecting to be up there and fighting with clubs like Tottenham and Arsenal for these top 4 places, to a club that's just scraping by the skin of its teeth for 3 years, 4 years now. It's really tough to change those expectations with fans and be able to keep them on board. And it's such a credit to the club, to the players and to the fans that they've stayed on board with this club, that they have not given up. Yes, there's been really testy moments. You're thinking, what was it, Brentford away a season or 2 ago, where the fans just turned on the players. You're thinking moments where Newcastle beat us 4-1. I was at that game when Newcastle beat us at Goodison 4-1, right? Like you're thinking these moments where it seems like it's all over and the world is crumbling around us, and yet the fans continue to show up. The players, when they're really needed most, continue to show up. The staff, when they're really needed most, continue to show up. And now it's about building from that. Now it's about finding their next spot. So that's a tangent. Everton 1, Brentford 0, but it's still a part of Everton 1, Brentford.
Yeah, but it's so true, those moments. I mean, gosh, I was sitting at Goodison Park. What was it, like a month, not even a month and a half ago? Maybe a little over a month and a half ago, when we lose to West Ham 3-1, and the two goals scored after the 90th minute, like, and in that moment it's like, are they going to show up? Are they going to show up? Like, gosh, that was so tough. And yeah, look at them, like having the character to actually show up, like, which is great. I mean,
and barring any
reels
more,
you back in.
Yeah, that's it. It does reel you back in. I love it though. This, it's like, we're back, baby. That's what it is. It's like, oh, we're so done. And then they get that one win. It's like, that's it. Everton's back. That's all we needed.
I know.
We're in this. All
it's
right.
Like standing there, and I'm like, oh, yeah. In that moment, I'm like, I don't know how to describe the feeling. This like deep tension inside of me of how I can love something and hate something so much at the same time. But man, the feeling of that moment, I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, they beat Liverpool 2-0 on a Wednesday night, and it's like,
that duality is great.
That's why I do it.
That's why we do it. That's why we go through 15 losses in a season so we can see us beat Liverpool. But yeah, so three wins, 3 clean sheets, keep us safe. It's awesome. What I think the two things we really wanted to talk about tonight were this main man, this ginger goatee, beautiful man. I think he's beautiful. I think he's lovely. It's Sean Dyche, Dyche, baby. We're talking about Sean Dyche and what is the future for him at Everton, and what the future for Everton in general seems like with him. And Quinn, I'll let you talk first.
Oh, I don't know if I want to talk first.
I'll talk first.
We haven't. You go for it. I've got thoughts too, but I want to hear your thoughts first. Mine won't change. Don't worry.
I love Sean Dyche. I like the guy a lot. I really like Sean Dyche, and there's a lot of reasons why, but the main reason why is that the guy is just straightforward. He is as straightforward as you need a manager to be. He's honest with his players. He's honest with the media. He's honest with the fans. There's a quote from, I believe it's from before the Nottingham Forest game or after the Chelsea match, where he's got this pressure on him, these 3 games in a week, what's going on next? He's like, well, you got to have big shoulders for this job. And I said, yeah, Sean, you do have. And he said, but I've got those. He has that confidence in himself. And he's showing with this depleted squad, no money to spend, no idea if he's even going to be in a job in a couple months, because we might go into administration, which we're going to talk about soon. And he sat there and said, I'm going to make sure we do the things we need to do as a coaching staff, as a team, even to an extent as fans, to be able to get us across the line so that we can at least go into next season as a Premier League club and go from there. I really like Sean Dyche. I really think that, first of all, he's exactly what Everton need in this moment in their history. He's exactly what we need. It is a no nonsense manager. It's yes, there's been stories about him smacking Patterson over the head, like that sort of thing is media bait. That's like the media jumping on that, like, oh, a little story we can talk about. Let's spread some divisiveness, get these clicks on our articles. Like, I don't like, you see that, and that's like, come on. If you've ever been part of like a team sport before, things happen. Like, whatever. Whoever leaked that, there's some loser, man. I don't know. That's like lame. But Sean Dyche has done such a great job of keeping this team unified. And it was even said after that Brentford game that basically after Chelsea 6-0, he sat down and said, you either want to be here or you don't. You're either a part of this or you're not. And that just spoke volumes. And I think you really started to see, over the next 3 games, you saw what players wanted to be there and what didn't. And it's based off who was picked in the starting 11. So you're looking at players like Gonagay who said, yes, I want to play. You're looking at players like Mikalenko who's like, yes, I've had this pain barrier I've had to deal with. Yes, I'm going to play. Dang, I got injured in the derby. I'm still going to play out this half, even though I really shouldn't. I could hurt myself even more. He has a pretty bad injury. Players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin who answered that call, even though he was out of form. and found a way to get himself in form and to get in amongst the goals and be the striker we needed. Even Decore, who I think has really been really effervescent this season and not been the player that we kind of thought we were seeing at the end of last season. I don't really think he has that ability personally, but he even still just throws himself around and presses at the right times and does enough of the right things to be able to make the system that we played work, to be able to make this nonstop energy that Dyche wants us to play with, this pressing football work. Does it always work right now? No, because we have a team of about 16 players who just cannot rotate in and out the way that we need to. And they still played for 3 games in a week and showed up for every one and kept a clean sheet for everyone. Pickford could still, win the Golden Glove this year. Like, Dyche has done a fantastic job at making sure this team knows what's expected of them.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah, I like that take, Forrest. I like it, honestly. I don't have too much to disagree with. I also am a Sean Dyche fan. I think when I think super long term, I don't know. But for the short term future of another season, maybe 2 more seasons, I would be content. I think too, he's gotten so much stick this season and like up and down, but like if we didn't have the points deduction, I don't think people would be as up in arms about having him as our manager and this like stretch of get him out of here. I just don't think it would be. I don't think it would be such a talking point. I totally agree that he is an Everton type of manager. Like, he's the guy that I want standing on the touchline. He's got the grit that I'm like, yeah, that guy, he fits the culture of the club. I do think that you can tell that the team is with him. Like, even when like the fans have been like, I mean, yeah, but gosh, who would argue with the Everton supporters are hard to please at times? I mean, goodness gracious.
Tightrope. Walking a tightrope. You can't diss the fans.
I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying that those moments where things are starting to get pretty bad, and I don't think it's Sean Dyche, but it's, hey, where do we start pointing the fingers if we need change when we can't get change at the top right away, So I wouldn't say it's like everybody being like, oh my gosh, Dyche out. There were people on Twitter with that, and I'm not behind that. I am here for Sean Dyche for the next season, 2 seasons. I think he's great. I do love his character as well. Like you were talking about things that he says. He's an honest man in the media. He says what he's thinking. Doesn't take crap from people, and I think that there's a respect from that in the dressing room. From what you can tell, is like, yeah, you work hard, you earn your place, and you get to keep it. And yeah, there's probably some players who are feeling like they've earned a place and they don't have a place, and that will happen at every football club. There are always going to be those like 3 and 4, 5 sitting on the bench who feel like they should be getting more time than they are, and that's a conversation between the manager and them. And I mean, people speculate about how people train and whatnot, but you don't know. I mean, unless you're there, you don't know what the situation is. You're not inside their head. So anyway, I like him. I am a fan of his. I do like his style of football. I think, watching him get the players motivated for matches like he did this, like the past week, it just shows what he can do.
Yeah.
And not that he's this like tactical, brilliant, like,
he's no Carlo Ancelotti, right?
Yeah. Goodness gracious. Sometimes that feels like it didn't really happen.
Oh, man. It had to happen during the COVID season. Like, it had to. The only way. He would have never came if there was fans still. He's like, can't do it. I know.
Oh, Real Madrid's calling. Yeah, I'll go back.
Yeah. No, he was there at the back end of the season before, so he did get to experience the fans.
Yeah.
But regardless, yes, I like Sean Dyche.
I'm a Dyche fan.
I'm definitely next season he needs to be there. I don't think, there were some rumors with the takeover that he would get let go. There's no way. You let him go. Who are you like? Here's the thing. One thing. Who are you going to replace him with? Who?
Oh, I'm big on that.
It would be David Moyes. It would be David, because he's going to leave West Ham. It's going to be David Moyes coming back, and it's going to be miserable. Nobody's going to be happy with that. Keep Sean Dyche. Continue with this upward trajectory that we have going on. Hopefully, and again, like, one of the questions I wanted to ask tonight is whether or not you, Quinn, and the rest of y'all listening thought that this season was a success. And for me, yeah. This season has been almost like an unbridled success in terms of what we've been dealing with over the past couple of years of like real threats of relegation. Yes, we're going into into the last 5-6 games of the season before this week with the threat of relegation looming, with this idea that if we don't win the games that we need to win, that we could very realistically get relegated because we had a really rough run and a squad that did not look like it was up to the fight. But at the end of the day, when you really look at what this season is, we are without a points deduction on 44 points. Are you kidding me? Like this could be a 50-point season without a points deduction. We would be dreaming. We would have bitten every single person's hand off for a 50-point season at the beginning of the year. We would have killed for an easy mid-table 12th, 11th finish. Don't have to worry about relegation. Just find a way to continue this upward trajectory. He has taken this team and motivated them to do that. And now we have a couple games left in the season. Arsenal away is not a game. I'm not even going to probably watch it because it's just going to it'd probably be ridiculous. Unless Arsenal are dealing with the pressure and can't, and then we upset them. That'd be awesome. I'd like that. I like Arsenal, but I just like to upset people.
Sure, you want to play.
Same with Luton on Friday. I would love us to beat Luton. As much as Notts Forest, and I'm going to continue to say Notts Forest, have made themselves out to be kind of clowns with this whole like the penalty situation. One thing I get but at the end of the day, every club has calls go against them. Regardless, I would be happy to see them go down compared to Luton personally, because Luton, fine. I didn't like Luton at first because of like they're this little underdog thing. They've beaten us twice this season. I don't like when clubs beat us, so I typically like I have this unyielding hate for Norwich because I saw Grant Holt score a winner against us or score a couple goals against us, and I can't stand the fact that he scored for us in this yellow and green uniform. But this season has been a success for what it's needed to be of staying up, for what it's needed to be of building this squad and developing players like Jared Branthwaite and developing players like Mikolenko, and to a certain extent Onana. I don't think he's really progressed very much this season. Actually, I think he's maybe even regressed to a certain point because I don't think he's very happy with his squad or the way we play. That's a conversation for another day. But when we get to transfer news in the next couple of weeks. But I really am happy with this season and what Dyche has done. I'm very happy to see him here next year. And honestly, next year, if things go well, we continue to progress. We find a way to improve the squad in the summer, and the ownership situation is clearer. Happy to see him lead us out into Bramley Moore. After that, yes, I don't think he's the long-term man, unless he continues to, because he's still a young manager. Like he's still a pretty young manager in footballing terms. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but he's still fairly young as a manager. So he still has a lot of room to grow. You don't know what he could grow into. I'm looking like I'm comparing him to David Moyes and seeing him as this manager that's come from these clubs that are not anywhere near as big as Everton, right? David Moyes is at Preston before he went to Everton, and obviously Dyche had his time at Burnley, and coming to this club that is they're very similar situations, dealing with financial crisis and ownership issues, dealing with players in the squad that don't necessarily want to be there, dealing with relegation battles, and doing the same thing, keeping us up, keeping this team going, making sure that the team has understood what's expected of them from the manager and from the fans too, because the fans have expectations that don't always match what the managers are, but they still have to be to a certain extent met. And there's just so much correlation. I don't know if he'll be here for as long as Moyes was. I don't know if he'll develop into a manager that could get us into the top four like Moyes eventually did. He got us into the top 4 once, but we were a team challenging for the top six every year. I would love for him to be that. If he's not, then he's the manager that gives us stability we need. He's a manager that instills a belief back in the fans, the unity back between the fans and the club that we've needed. And it's just going to be great to see him continue to grow here at Everton and continue to see Everton grow with him as manager.
Sean Dyche is 52 years old, Forrest. 52. I looked it up.
Okay, well, again, that's young for a manager, though. That's like he's got another 15, 16 years to go on his CV as a manager, if not more, So he's got plenty of time. And he's a smart man, and he's personable, And I've never seen him speak in anger to the media. I've never seen him speak in anger to anybody really. Like yes, he seems like a gruff person, but I've never seen him lash out like Klopp will at the media. And I don't like to really rag on Klopp just because he's a Liverpool manager, but like he lashes out at the media. Even like Guardiola will do it, Arteta will do it. They'll just have these moments where they lose their composure. I've not seen that from Dyche. I've just seen him continue to be level-headed and continue to be the manager that he's needed to be and not cause more discord and not cause more strife. Yeah. Love the guy. I love him. I really do.
I guess so. I knew you were a Dyche fan, but I think I've learned a lot about your deep love for Sean Dyche today.
It's not deep love.
I don't know, Forrest. You get pretty passionate. The question was actually if you thought the season was a success or not, and you just off you went talking about Sean Dyche. So
because he's one of the big reasons why this season was a success, and probably the last good decision that Farhad Moshiri and co have made was hiring Sean Dyche. Because now we're going to get into our next segment. These guys.
You didn't even I didn't even get to share if the season was a success or not.
Was the season a success?
I concur with what you said about the fact that at the beginning of the season we would have taken where we were at. It's okay.
I do love Sean Dyche, and look, I'm the guy whose only picture with an Everton player or manager is with Sam Allardyce. I like Sean Dyche. Okay, that's the only picture I have with an Everton player or manager. Sam Allardyce. Can you believe that? How unlucky!
Did you take a selfie with him?
No, I'm gonna make this short. I won a trip with the Premier League. They took me to Manchester City at home. We lost 3-1. And then they took me down to the manager's room afterwards and forced me to get a selfie with Sam Allardyce and then forced me to smile for it. They literally forced me to smile. I did not want to smile. Either way.
That was just such a subtle statement. Like, oh yeah, I won a trip with the Premier League.
It's not because it's not a big deal. And I look back on that with like, maybe I should have given that trip to somebody else. Regardless, we don't have too much time left. We're probably going to run over an hour this time, but that's okay. We're going to touch on 777 and just all the news that came out today about insolvency, about administration, about what might actually happen. Hi, Gary Artovsky. Nice to see you, bro. Glad you're here. But what might actually happen with 777, I just want to start off by saying from the beginning, I thought they were a really bad idea. That there was never any inkling that they would be a good thing for the club. That they seem very predatory, that they seem like a company and people that did not have the club's best interests at heart. And that continues to make the rounds of the media and continues to kind of be proven in my mind. I don't know how you feel, but I think you really like
him. Really like him. That's a strong. Yeah. It's the opposite day. Yeah. I would say similar when they even were rumored before anything serious was taking place. There was no part of me that was like, this is a good idea. I think I just was like, I was concerned, didn't have a lot of good feelings about them and being involved. But yeah.
There we go. Refocus. Yeah, I had to refocus my camera. Sorry, y'all. Yes. Yep. You look at the history of their clubs and the clubs that they've owned, the things that they owned, everywhere they go, trouble seems to follow. I remember one of the first things I even read about 777 was the fact that Josh Wander was charged with cocaine trafficking back in 2003. It's like, well, like, something like that happens. Yeah, you can turn your life around and become a better person, but it doesn't really seem like that. And you see them in the stands at Goodison, and you kind of just look at them and you're like, you guys kind of like, you don't fill me with a lot of hope. You look a little greasy. Not literally, but like you look kind of like you just don't look right. You don't look like you fit with the club. You don't look like what you're going to bring to this club is going to be something that brings the club forward. You look like this little intermediary who's just trying to find a way to catch a club at the right time so that they can sell the stadium, so they can make the money. Then they can sell the club again. And then it just becomes this horrible, horrible cycle that we've seen a lot of clubs go down, where they just become stagnant. You're looking at somebody like Schalke in Germany. I just read an article today. Schalke's, facing the same sort of problem, financial problems as us, of administration, of ownership issues. That's a huge German club. you're seeing quite a number of clubs who've been very badly run over the past few years start to really have their chickens come home to roost, and it's for us, the decisions we make now as a club and who owns us and what the next steps are in terms of how we deal with our financial situation are so critical, are so important, because we have so much debt and we continue to take on more debt to these lenders every month because Mashiri's not putting any more money in. He probably doesn't have the money to put in because he cannot get it from Usmanov anymore. So we're stuck sitting here just hoping and praying that we can make ends meet until somebody, like, we have this savior come in and save whoever it is, and there's been all this talk of like these bidders waiting in the shadows, right? There's been talk of MSP, which remind me, they're like the Wisconsin based one, right?
Yeah, I think they are based in Wisconsin.
She's double checking on that for me.
I am.
That's my stats girl. All right. But yeah, so it's and there's unfounded rumors of Middle Eastern investment, all this stuff. It's and you have all these new financial fair play restrictions coming in that I haven't really tried to make heads or tails of yet. I'd really like to learn more about, but as of right now, it just is so up in the air. And yet at the end of the day, we all have this collective feeling, top to bottom, that 777 is not the ones to take us forward. That they're the ones that might even take us farther backwards, that might hurt us even more as a club. And to me, it's just Mashiri really trying to get this club off his hands before administration or insolvency becomes a real situation for the club. And obviously, it's kind of it's really starting to come out now. That might be a real situation the club is looking like it'll find itself in.
Yeah, says they're based in New York, but I feel like they started in. I mean, obviously they're based in somewhere like New York, but yeah, I would agree. I think it just feels like a Band-Aid that's going to cause more problems. That's like, it doesn't feel like a serious long-term investment. I don't think it felt like that from the beginning either, where it's like you said, it's, hey, we come in and then we sell the stadium. We move on, we make money. And obviously the way in which the world is going, like there's lots of that in sport in general of its business to most people. And so it's not like I'm living in this fantasy that someone's going to come in and be like, man, we just want to run the club totally, like, not from the sake of like to make money one day. Like, I think that would be pretty naive for anyone to say, whoever comes in and owns a club, that there's no desire to make money off the club in the long term. In the long term.
Right. But I think a lot of times when it comes to owning a football club, a lot of clubs do operate at a loss just because the idea of like revenue in sports is built off ticket sales, it's built off merchandise, and it's built off the communication side of it. It's built off the TV rights and everything. That's where you really make your money. And I think a lot of times people owning a club becomes a status symbol thing. And then you have these finance people coming in trying to own these clubs, and then they try to turn them into these profit systems. It really work. It can work if you have the right model. If you're looking at somebody like Borussia Dortmund, Southampton back in the day, something like Brighton right now is a good model of these players. These clubs that are taking young players, relatively unproven, and developing them into players that get sold for £100 million, £70 million, £40 million, whatever, and they make that big profit on it. Yeah, that's a reliable way to become a club that can make money, but then you don't keep your best players. You don't become a club that wins things. How do you keep your fans on board? Eventually, Dortmund's been a different story because they've become a successful club who has their core players that they're able to keep because they're a Champions League club every year, because they're playing a league where, and I don't want to discount the German league because there's no Farmers League in Europe, in my opinion. Italy's not, France is not, Germany's not, England's not, there's no Farmers League. Spain is definitely not, but there's no Farmers League where every game is not a honeypot trap for these teams, for the top teams. Every game is going to be hard in every top league because you're all professional players. But at the end of the day, these models that we thought we were going to follow when Mashiri came in just haven't existed, and we all got a bit starstruck with the money. We all really just wanted the opportunity to be able to celebrate Everton, and the sleeping giant is awoken. We had all these really grand thoughts and feelings about what was going to happen, and it didn't materialize. And now we have all of these. I mean, all of this is so correlated from the fans' frustration with what's happening on the pitch to the way the club has been run. It's all so correlated, and it's all coming back now into what this season has been, with the points deductions, with staying up amidst all that, with more hearings still to come, with the ownership situation that's happening. It's really just come to a head now, and now we're dealing with what seems like a very predatory group trying to get their hooks into Everton when they're at their weakest, when they don't have an owner who really cares and really has some money to stump up to be able to keep the club going, and they're trying to find a way to get the crown jewel of their portfolio, what would be the crown jewel of their portfolio, Everton, into their hands. And I pray that it does not happen. I pray that, because I do not think they are the kind of people that will make the right decisions for this club, personally. And I think they've shown that. Yeah. Anything else to add about 777?
No, I just hope that we don't even make the I hope it doesn't go through, but not that we go into not that all these bad, but I just am like, man, I hope somebody else, all these, like you said, bidders in the shadows, it's like someone come out that's not like a similar situation of 777. But yeah, I just don't, there's no good feeling. There's no hope with 777 taking over in any way, shape, or form. So part of me is like, move on. Let's get some conversations started if there are these people who, or let's get moving.
Yeah, and if we've set the deadlines that we have for 777, then we got to hope that those are real deadlines, and that whoever's behind them is somebody that's way better. I mean, there's so much we should both probably read about these when we really want to talk about it in a technical and intelligent way. But it's important for us to take the time and sit here and really understand. So that's kind of exhausted our topics of what to talk about. We want to open up the floor to the people that we have watching. If anybody has any questions, we do have one that's been sitting in our inbox for a bit. It's from Irvin Koeman, who's decided to take some time off his busy duties with the Dutch national team to ask us some questions. Ask us a question about Everton. I believe he asked us the same one last week. Obviously, weren't able to do the show. But Irvin says, "Hi, U.S. Toffees. Would you sign Jack Harrison permanently?" I'm going to let Quinn answer that first, because I'm just continuing to talk. So,
yeah, I think I go back and forth. I think some people have really strong opinions about Jack Harrison, of that he works. I think everyone would agree he works really hard. I don't think anyone would really give pushback on that. Yeah, I actually do like Jack Harrison. I think when he's confident, he's good enough to be on the field, and I do think his work rate, though sometimes not, his technical ability isn't always there. Some of his deliveries aren't always there. I think his work rate is infectious on the field, actually, and it's refreshing to see. I don't think I would throw a ton of money towards signing him, but I do think if you can negotiate the right deal, I don't think he's a bad person to have in your back pocket when you need something to happen during a game, or just some energy coming off the bench. I don't think he's an awful option when we think about moving forward and not having a ton of money to spend and not having a ton of options. Part of me is also biased because I'm like, heck yeah, the Wake Forest grad. I mean, he didn't really graduate, but little Wake Forest player.
Little Wake Forest is like a premier men's college.
I know. Wake Forest is like, I'm just saying in comparison to the UK, of people not knowing, Wake Forest men's soccer is top notch. So it's just fun to even see. It's one of the first drafts I watched, actually. One of the first MLS drafts I ever watched, which the draft system, whatnot. And him going first in the draft to New York City, it was like this kid from England came over, and then, seeing him go back to England. It's, to me, maybe that's more of the story of why there's this little sentimental value of why I really like Jack Harrison. But I think he works hard. I think that he does have the ability. I think he's not crazy young, but he's still young. He's in his early He's not 27. I don't think he's my age.
He is.
You can look it up.
27. Yes.
Oh, I thought he
Mhm.
was younger than me. Well, fair enough. He's not that young, but
This is like It's like Jesse Lingard, young player. It's like
yeah,
he's 31.
it's
It's a young player
yeah,
with a
he's
lot
a
of
young
potential.
player.
Yeah.
That's on me. I'll wear that one. He's not as young as
No,
I
it's not good.
thought, but
He's prime.
I like him.
It is prime as a footballer, really.
Yeah, I think he's for the right money and the right deal. I would not be upset to have him on a team sheet next season.
Yeah. I would agree. I wouldn't mind seeing him sign permanently. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that we're not going to have a lot of money to spend,
Mm-hmm.
if any at all. Honestly, even with player sales, it kind of seems dubious if we'll even be able to spend any significant amount of money on players, because all of that's going to have to go to running costs and stadium costs and debt, and credit, and everything else in between. Um, but I think he has been at best a fairly consistent performer for us this season in terms of his work rate. Yes, his end product has not been great. He's definitely struggles to play through balls, struggles to put in the right cross. I personally think he's really wasted on the right side of the pitch. I think he belongs on the left side. He's a natural left-footed winger, and he needs to be the guy who's able to bring in an in-swinging ball, or an out-swinging ball rather than an in-swinging ball, because he just can't seem to get those in-swinging balls right. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I see, regardless. Um, and then I think also putting somebody like Dwight McNeil on the right, because he's a left-footed player, and having him cut in and because he can pass, he can find. You saw that when these past couple of games where he's played centrally, he's found these opportunities to create, and these opportunities to get those strikes on goal that he wants to get. He almost scored that freaking belter against Brentford that that took that knuckle and hit off the bar. Like that's where Dwight belongs, is central or right, and being able to cut in and have more room to work with his left foot. But yes, I don't know if we'll have the money to sign him. I think there's also the fact that he still has a contract at Leeds. They might still come up, and it might be like, well, I'll still get my Premier League football regardless of where I go. So maybe it doesn't quite matter to me. And he might the move again. He might I'm not going to discount Leeds in any way. I know historically they're a big club in England, but they're not Everton. Not right now. They're not the size of Everton. They had only had a couple seasons in the top flight after, I think, well over 20 years out of it. So maybe not quite 20 years, but a long time out of it. So, the draw is going to be there for him to stay. It's whether or not we want to keep him. I'm sure Dyche would identify him as somebody we keep. But at the same time, what I like him as is an impact player. I don't like him as a starter so much. I think he's the kind of player that could come on if somebody on the left or right is struggling, and come on 60 minutes and really make a difference in the game with his energy. With he's not the fastest guy, but he's got a decent amount of pace. He's got a good touch. And I think he has a good footballing brain. It's just the execution part that really gets away from him sometimes, which you could say about a lot of players on this team, honestly. A lot of them really struggle in executing both easy and hard things, fundamentals, and then the advanced tactics and technical ability that they need to show at that level. But yeah, all said and done, yes, I would be happy to see him sign as for a 3.5-4 million pound fee would seem like maximum to me, or even like if he wants to come on loan again for another season, if something that Leeds is willing to do, that there are whatever opportunity we could explore, I'm sure we'll explore that. I'm really interested to see who we're even looking at. As far as I know, there's been links to players like Wilfred Ndidi from Leicester. Che Adams has come up again. So there are credible links to players that have Premier League experience and players in positions where we kind of do need cover, and especially when you're thinking of like players like Onana and Branthwaite, who are probably going to be leaving in the summer. It's as heartbreaking as to hear to even think of Branthwaite leaving Everton. Like, it really seems like it's going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to wait and see who we really identify and who we can really spend money on, and then it's just going to have to go from there. I think next season is going to be another season of battling, of trying to stay up, of probably maybe even having a points deduction again, which is ridiculous when you really think about it. They've changed rules and they're still going to hold us to these old rules. It's just wild. It just blows my mind. But we should probably talk about the Premier League and what we think about Richard Masters next week. But we're going to leave that for next week.
Not this week. Not a this week topic.
No, because we are done. We're out of time. That's it. And that hour felt like it flew by. Honestly, I was sitting here looking at the clock at like 15 minutes. Like, how are we going to fit all this in an hour? And then here we are. Yeah, 5 minutes passed. But it's been good. This is our first show. It's only going to get better from here. We are both pretty new to the podcasting circuit in terms of hosting and having things to talk about. Again, this is something that we just do once a week, but what we're going to do is continue to put our best into it. We're good friends, so we talk all the time, and we have that vibe, man. We've got that.
We've got it.
That connection.
One of these days we'll even be in Liverpool at the same time. Who the heck knows? I've been trying for 15 years, but
forgot to mention it. I forgot to mention we haven't gone to Liverpool together.
We've just missed each other many times.
Yeah, I know. It's literally been like days apart. So I guess I'll leave y'all with my Scouse impression, and then
gosh, yes,
it's really good.
Forrest has been waiting to do this for I couldn't even tell you how long. This is like, give him the stage. He's been waiting for this forever. Go on, dude.
All right, lads. So I'm from Liverpool, right, and I support Everton Football Club. It's not the greatest Scouse accent, right? It's not perfect, but I sound close enough. I just go and I'm just going around, sitting here on a podcast, and that's just the way it is. It's my Scouse accent. You can sit here, you can dig into me if you want. It's not, again, I sound like an American putting on a Scouse accent. I get it, but that's life. Just deal with it. We all support Everton Football Club. Up the Toffees. Come on, Toffees. Yes. All right. I don't have to do that again. It's okay.
I mean, how can we add anything after that? I think we should just cut it right here. That's as good as it gets.
Just click that button. All right. Well, thank you guys for showing up today. And if you were just listening on the podcast, get on the live stream. Come on, ask us some questions. I love that Irvin Koeman came in, asked us a question. I want like 5 more to answer. I want to be sifting through letters in my hands, like, how am I going to answer all these? Because I just love talking to y'all, and I love Everton, and I love talking with Quinn. And we just want to talk more together. Cool. Well,
till next week.
Till next week. Up the Toffees. Let's beat Luton on Friday and really put a wrench into that relegation battle, so we have something fun to watch over the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
All right. Peace out, y'all. Good night.